Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me as the Kansas City Chiefs are now 3-3.
Lions offside. Mahomes keeps it, scores it, touchdown.
The Chiefs absolutely dismantled the Detroit Lions, and now, moving to 3-3, they are legit contenders not only in the AFC West, but in the AFC, as nobody has been dominant in this league and nobody's taking that number one seed yet. So the Chiefs back on track against the Lions Sunday Night Football 30-17. An absolute drumming, and oh my gosh, do we have so much to get to. We'll get to the game here in a second. We got to talk about Brian Branch because that's what everybody's talking about. He throws a punch at Juju Smith-Schuster after the game after refusing to take a handshake from Patrick Mahomes. Juju may have said something, but then extends his hand to Brian Branch, and Branch responds with a punch to the face of Juju, like a toddler who didn't get his way. That's how Deion Branch feels after he gets BTA'd by the Kansas City Chiefs, and he just couldn't handle it. Like an 8-year-old playing pee-wee who gets mad after a play and shoves somebody, Brian Branch is essentially that. That's who he is. And I think it's a little pathetic of the Lions. I know Dan Campbell afterwards is like, hey, that's not what we do. That's not acceptable. How many personal foul penalties has Brian Branch had this year? Like 7? So it is acceptable a little bit for you, Dan. Otherwise, you would actually take a disciplinary measure against Brian Branch instead of allowing him to continue to parade around like he's some kind of star in this league while he causes constant problems. So you can say it's not acceptable, but the fact is your actions say otherwise. And I like Dan Campbell. I'm a big Dan Campbell fan. Very vehemently a Dan Campbell fan. But you got to call it like you see it. And how I see it is that Dan Campbell allows Brian Branch to do what Brian Branch does. We'll see if there's disciplinary measures, but frankly, he should have had it long before this point. So that is on Dan Campbell. It is. Moving on, we have a lot to get to with this game. We have a lot to discuss with this game. You can go in the comments more to talk a little bit more about Brian Branch if you want. I'll respond to some of it, but the reality is, I don't care what Juju said. I don't care what Patrick Mahomes said. You can't hit people after the game's over. You just can't do it. I did like, though, real quick note, I did like how Juju sort of flopped because, like, as a reflex, as if it was happening during the game, Juju flops and falls. Then he's like, wait a minute. I can't get a flag for this. And he gets up and starts running, trying to fight the... And I love Patrick. He starts charging in there like, what are we doing? Where's the fight at? Everybody was ready to scrap the second that it started to pop off. But obviously, for Brian Branch, you have to be smarter. You have to be more controlled than to go into a situation like that after the game, on the road, and throw a punch. Got to be smarter. Got to be better. He will likely get suspended for a game because it's a national embarrassment. That's why. You're on NBC. You're on Sunday Night Football. You can't do what Brian Branch did because it makes the league look bad. And if I know anything about Roger Goodell, and I do, he will take disciplinary measure against Brian Branch. But you know what? Dan Campbell should have taken those measures already, so it's on him too. Branch has been a problem all year, and clearly Campbell hasn't gotten the message through to him because he's still doing stuff like this. So you could say, oh, it's not all the Lions, it's just Brian Branch. Well, what is allowed is what you allow, right? What happens is what you allow. And that's what happened with Dan Campbell. It's been a problem all year. He ignored it. Now the problem's at his doorstep on national television and an embarrassment for the NFL. So it's on him too. Moving on. We got a lot to get to in this game. A lot to get to. Chiefs win 30-17. Let's start with the man who made it all happen, Patrick Mahomes. The MVP race now has a stamp of number 15 on it, right next to number 6, Baker Mayfield, because Patrick Mahomes has played his way right into that conversation. He goes 22 for 30, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, 0 turnovers. That is an MVP performance, and he's already had another one against the Ravens earlier this year. So you just keep stacking those MVP performances up, and suddenly at the end of the season, Patrick Mahomes could be walking away with his 3rd MVP trophy, which would be outstanding by every definition and an iconic moment for one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and the greatest quarterback of his generation, Patrick Mahomes II. He came out tonight with a precise gameplay. Maybe it was the interception against the Jags. I don't know. Maybe that's what Patrick Mahomes needed to kind of snap in and be a little bit more crisp, a little bit more on point with all of his targets, a better accuracy, better focus. Sometimes you got to F it up a little bit. That's part of life. And maybe that's what Patrick Mahomes needed against the Jags, throwing a pick six in a dire situation to go ahead and snap his brain back and go, whoa, and get that little bit of extra focus. Sometimes that's what it takes. Human beings aren't robots. They aren't perfect. Sometimes you need a trigger to go a certain way in order for your brain to lock in. And hopefully that moment against the Jags was that moment for Patrick Mahomes. It was that snap, that trigger for Patrick. That moment against the Jags triggers Patrick, and now he looks focused. Now he looks dialed in. Since that moment, since that interception to Lloyd at the goal line, the 99-yard pick six, since that moment, Patrick Mahomes has been absolutely nails. He's been crisp, he's been on point, and he's been dynamic in a way that we only see from MVP quarterbacks. So call him MVP Pat, because he's right back in the conversation. That's got to get you fired up, man. Because it's great to win, but when you have a dominating performance from your quarterback, that gives you a lot of confidence for the future of what this Chiefs team can be and what Patrick Mahomes can be. This is life with a franchise quarterback, guys. If you've watched this show at all, then you know. I am not a new Chiefs fan. I am a lifelong suffering Chiefs fan. Born and raised in Kansas City. My dad's had season tickets since 1980, which is awesome. And now you can sell those tickets if you're not going to go. Before, you had to try to give them to somebody. Now, it's a different world, right? I was at the Jags game when Brody Croyle got his first snaps, and I thought, this guy's the future. I was wrong. But seeing what Patrick Mahomes has done, and watching a guy that is a franchise quarterback, did you see him tonight put a clown suit on Hutch? Hutchinson got in there for a sec. Nope. Shook him, got off, 20-yard completion to Hollywood Brown. An absolute masterclass in playing quarterback is what we saw from Patrick Mahomes tonight. An absolute masterclass, an ability to put on a show that anyone in the NFL should watch and learn from, because that is how you play quarterback. 257 yards through the air, 32 on the ground, 4 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers. Patrick Mahomes II, put it on a t-shirt. He's a dominant force in the NFL, and he's about to take his rightful throne that he hasn't had since 2022, that MVP. Still got to outplay Baker. Baker's having a season. You can't say MVP right now without Baker Mayfield. That's why I keep doing it. But let's go to the leading receiver tonight. Do you know who the leading receiver was in receptions and yards for the Kansas City Chiefs? Travis Kelce. I don't want to hear another person on the planet tell me that Travis Kelce is washed, because that person would be flat out wrong. 6 receptions, 78 yards, the leading wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs in a dominant victory over the Lions. And in every moment where Patrick Mahomes needs somebody on a 3rd down, where he needs somebody to bail out the offense, where does he go? Number 87. And he's done that his entire career. And why should it stop just because Travis is 36? He's not showing any signs of stopping. It might not be 2022 anymore, but it's 2025. And Travis Kelce will still put it on you every chance he gets. Keep Travis Kelce coming. Man, it's a pleasure to watch him play football. I remember the night Travis Kelce was drafted in the 3rd round in 2013. And ever since then, he has been an absolute joy to watch in Kansas City. So appreciate the hell out of what you got right now. And I'm being dead serious. Appreciate what you have in Travis Kelce and in Patrick Mahomes. But in Travis more so because the horizon's there, right? You can see it. You can see the end of the road for his football life. And he has a great life outside of football that might be talked about a little too much at times. But the fact is, this guy's football career has been something so special, and he still continues, like tonight against the Detroit Lions. He still continues to be an incredible football player and an absolute joy to watch. The play he had, there was one play he had pretty early in the game, I think it was 2nd quarter, where they threw a simple hitch route about 5 yards, right? And he catches it, and this is vintage Travis. He catches it, and he jab steps to his left and starts to turn his left shoulder. And then he whips back around the right. Every player in Detroit, they had 2 guys coming for him, both bid on it. And he switches to the right. He's able to break off a 10-yard run after the catch to get the first down. And that's why Patrick Mahomes looks to Travis Kelce, because he knows it doesn't matter if he's 36 years old. It doesn't matter if Travis Kelce is 100 years old. You can trust him to turn a 5-yard hitch route into a 15-yard first down because he knows how to manipulate the defense, to jab left and turn his shoulder and then whip his hips around, go right, shake 2 defenders, get the first down, and keep the drive going. That's why Travis Kelce, even at 36 years old, was the number 1 wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs tonight. The top guy, most receptions, most yards. And if you're Patrick Mahomes, why would you ever stop going to him? He keeps making you look good. I mean, that's part of why you get balls as a receiver or a tight end. You make your quarterback look good. And Travis Kelce, he'll make you look golden. Especially tonight. These guys locked in. Say whatever you want, haters. I want to hear from the haters. Please, haters, bring all your hate to me. Tell me now how the Chiefs are washed. Tell me now how the reign is over and the Chiefs are finished. Please explain to me, with your infinite wisdom, how the Kansas City Chiefs didn't just destroy the Lions and put themselves right back in the conversation for the AFC West and the AFC. Explain to me why the Chiefs are washed and that you're not just a bitter, pathetic human being that can't figure out why you hate yourself so much, so you just project your hatred onto the Chiefs. And that's real, because people are going to hate the Giants in 2 years. Everybody loves Jackson Dart and Cam Scatteraboo. Give it 2 or 3 years, boys. They'll hate you, because that's how America works. I didn't make it this way, guys. It's just the way it always happens. Because everybody loved the Chiefs in 2018 and 19. Remember? Oh, first Super Bowl since in 50 years. It's been since 1970. How amazing for Andy Reid. 3 years later, they hate you. That's how it works. It worked that way with the Patriots. It worked that way with the Chicago Bulls. It worked that way with the Lakers when they were a dynasty. It works that way with the Yankees for the last 150 years. It just works that way when you're good. They hate you. So it is pathetic haters. When I bring up that stuff about people saying the reign is over, people saying the Chiefs are washed, I'm not just blowing smoke up your backside to have a good time. There's legit facts and a multitude of examples showing that the Chiefs' hatred is trash by every definition. So let them talk. Please tell me more with your ridiculously stupid takes about how the Chiefs are done. Please. I want it.
Second half.
On to Hollywood Brown. On to Hollywood. Lights, camera, action. What an amazing performance and an amazing season so far by Hollywood Brown. I mean, 2 weeks in a row against the Jags and against the Lions, he made incredible sideline catches that made my eyes pop out of my head. What an incredible talent, and a guy that people had sort of written off a little bit. And now we're seeing what Hollywood Brown can be when he's, one, healthy, and two, in a system that plays to his strengths, which is getting on the sidelines, getting in space to use his legs, use his agility, and make plays happen. 2 touchdowns on 4 receptions and 45 yards for Hollywood Brown tonight. What a phenomenal performance, and what a guy who's emerging as a big-time player for the Kansas City Chiefs. I love watching Hollywood play football, man. He gets like into space. He gets out into space, and he's just a different guy. You can't stop him.
Mahomes searching, cuts across with a touchdown to Hollywood Brown for the second time.
So I love watching Hollywood Brown, man. And we'll get to some other guys, too, on this offensive side, including one player that we finally saw get a little bit more involved in the second half tonight. If you watched the live on TikTok, which we had a blast on there, man. We got a blast every time, every Chiefs game. I am live on TikTok from about 25 minutes before the game all the way through the end. And we talk about everything. The chat blows up. We have all the questions. We discuss all of it. And we'll get to Harrison Butker here in a bit. But hey, you got it right. Again, it's six games in 6 games, in every single one of them he's had a blunder. But we'll get to Butker later. I promise. We'll try to. But we talked about that a lot on the live. We talked about potentially going to get Breece Hall or Alvin Kamara. I think Breece Hall is a possibility. I don't think Alvin Kamara is. I think they'll try to keep him in New Orleans because he sells tickets for the Saints. People pay to go see Alvin Kamara play. However, the 0-6 Jets are a total catastrophe, so there's no reason for me to believe that the Jets would keep Breece Hall because Breece Hall is completely wasted on the Jets. And he doesn't have a ton of years left. It's not like Devon Achane in Miami where you think he might be a part of their future. Breece Hall, in a few years, he's not going to be the same player. You got to get him to somebody where he can win now. So Breece Hall from New York makes sense coming to Kansas City. However, they did get one guy involved that I really was enjoying. We'll tell you that here in a couple minutes. But first, Xavier Worthy is a warrior. You can tell that he's not 100% out there, but he just keeps coming. He is relentless. As a football player, as a person, he is a relentless guy. He gets the ball. He found the end zone tonight. Not a huge impact, but the fact is he's a guy that everyone has to account for. And he's playing with a bum ankle and a bum shoulder, and he just keeps gutting it out. So every time you see Xavier Worthy on the field, remember that is a guy with a ton of heart because he is undersized, he's hurt, and he's still playing, still putting up numbers, and still looking like one of the more dynamic weapons on the field every time he steps on it. So make sure you don't really think about the numbers when it comes to Xavier Worthy and appreciate the toughness and tenacity that he brings just by being out there in his condition. Because you could tell that ankle's bothering him. You could tell last week especially, but tonight too, you could tell it's still bothering him. That ankle, it looks like it's a sprain. And I think you got a few more weeks before he's back to 100%. But he's still out there with a gritty, tough performance and found the end zone tonight. Very well done by Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs were able to really shut down a big-time player. We'll get to that here in a couple minutes. But first, a guy that got involved in the second half with 3 receptions for 21 yards. A guy we talk about all the time, Brashard Smith. Love Brashard Smith, man. We've been talking about this guy nonstop. We want to see more of him. The 7th-round rookie out of SMU. They put him as kind of this H-back tonight, which I thought was really interesting. It would be like Travis Kelce on one side at tight end, and then Brashard Smith on the other side. And then they motion Brashard over, and then he pops back. They throw him a quick screen. He's got Travis and a wide receiver out in front of him blocking. Boom, rips off 8 yards. I mean, that's a great play for Brashard Smith. And more than anything, guys, it gets his confidence up. This is a 7th-round rookie. This is a guy that has to earn every little bit of playing time. But Andy Reid did this with Isaiah Pacheco, if you remember. In 2022, when Pacheco was a rookie, he brought him up slowly, let his confidence grow. And in the second half tonight, we saw Brashard Smith come along slowly and that confidence grow up. Now, I don't know if he's going to be an every down back, which is why I think we still see a move for a running back like Breece Hall before the trade deadline. But the fact that you can use him as a legitimate weapon and that he's growing in confidence, and look, 3 receptions for 21 yards tonight, that's good for Brashard Smith. Because as this season goes on, you're going to need guys like that. Look, the Chiefs are having really good luck with injuries right now, but we don't know how long that lasts. We know they need depth. And speaking of depth, let's talk about Jalen Moore. If you're like me, then when you heard Josh Simmons wasn't going to play against the Lions, your heart sank down through the bottom of your stomach. I was absolutely devastated. But at the same time, I was like, hey, he's got a family situation. He has to go to California for it. I hope everything works out for him, and I wish the best. We understand the situation no matter how much it hurts, and we were hoping Jalen Moore, who's got a 2-year, $30 million contract to sit on the bench, all right, well, now's your time to earn it. And by God, did he ever earn that contract? Jalen Moore, a revelation at offensive tackle. He was outstanding in for Josh Simmons, and playing against Hutchinson, he shut him down. That's not something I ever expected. I just wanted him to be serviceable, and he came in and was a stalwart. Absolutely phenomenal night by Jalen Moore, and proof that the Chiefs have legitimate depth at tackle. They went from no left tackles to 2 left tackles in one offseason. What's up, Brett Veach? The Chiefs general manager, as usual, bringing us gold. He does it. I mean, every year this happens. At the defensive backfield, at the offensive line, when there is a glaring issue that the Chiefs have in a season, and last year, left tackle was a glaring issue. They went through 4 left tackles. They had to replace 2 of them for poor performance with Kingsley and Wanya Morris. Yeah, they had DJ Humphries, who got injured, and then the 4th one was Joe Tooney, who's not on the team anymore, and he was playing out of position. So now you have Josh Simmons, your starting left tackle, who's had a really good season, and then he has to leave for a personal issue, and Jalen Moore steps in, and he has a phenomenal game. So now you have 2 left tackles. Our cup runneth over. It's true. Our cup runneth over because of Brett Veach. He's been that awesome, man. How cool is it that the Chiefs have a general manager that sees an issue, addresses it in the offseason, and then you come back the next year and the issue's gone. The issue's gone. Chiefs needed more weapons on offense. Boom, they got more weapons on offense. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you look at the offense, they're a running back away. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are a running back away. Because Isaiah Pacheco, by the way, he had an okay game. Pacheco, I think he averaged almost like a little over 4 yards per carry today. He had an okay game. But anybody watching, I mean, you see him and you know, like he's just not quite what he once was. So the idea of going to get a running back, I think if you get a Breece Hall on this offense, it becomes an unstoppable offense. Right now, the key to stopping the Chiefs is stopping Patrick Mahomes. Nobody can. But if a team figures out how to stop Patrick Mahomes, you're in trouble. Unless you get a running back who can just explode a game, blow it wide open. I like Kareem Hunt a lot. His short yardage runs, knowing that you have a guy, let's get deep into Kareem right now. Kareem Hunt, knowing you have a guy like Kareem Hunt who can carry the ball on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and you don't even have to worry about it. You just know it's a first down because Kareem Hunt has it like that. That brings so much happiness to me. It takes so much pressure off of the Chiefs offense just knowing, get close, hand it to 29, and he's going to battering ram his way forward so you don't even have to worry about it because Kareem Hunt's got it. A great job by the Chiefs offensive line getting that push. And also Travis Kelce, who was a lead blocker on a 4th and 1. I don't want to hear all the haters about Travis Kelce not being able to block. If you think Travis Kelce can't block, you're not watching the games. You're just making things up and listening to narratives on the internet and letting it earworm your way into your brain and thinking you're smart. Because the fact is, when they needed a 4th and 1, they put Kareem Hunt right behind Travis Kelce, and he got that first down and then some. So I love watching Kareem Hunt, man. What a great thing to have when you go into the playoffs, when you go into these really tight games, having a running back that you know can get you a yard when you need it, that is worth its weight in gold. And Kareem Hunt, again, consistently proves to be that guy at the highest possible level. And let's get to the defense. Nothing deep for Jared Goff. They shut him down. He got just over 200 yards passing, had a couple of really nice plays, but at the end of the day, they got in Jared Goff's face and he melted down. That's what it was. Early in the game when Jared Goff was playing well, he had all day, man. I was worried about the pass rush. I'm sitting there pacing around like, man, I don't know. We're talking about it on the live. We're like, he's got all day. And if Jared Goff has all day, he can destroy you. He's that good. He's always been good. We know that. Chiefs fans know that. Monday Night Football, 2018, Rams, Chiefs. We were there. We saw Jared Goff. We know what he's capable of. But if you get in his face and you make him uncomfortable, he starts to become not very effective. He was smart to not turn the ball over. I thought that was a big upside for Jared Goff tonight. With how much the Chiefs were harassing him, getting into the backfield, Charles Omenihu. We talked about Omenihu. Yeah, on the midweek blitz, that he's better than he's getting credit for. And tonight he got the numbers to show that. He had a great game against the Lions. And I think it's kind of been something coming along. But he got in Jared Goff's face. Spags started calling blitzes, started sending Bolton up the middle, started getting guys free to Jared Goff, and Goff started getting concerned. And he couldn't throw the ball deep either. That was a big thing tonight. Nobody had big numbers for the Lions offensively. They were able to keep those guys from getting any big plays. And I think the Lions did a good job of making the Chiefs earn it too. That's what was the great thing about this matchup. Both defenses did a great job of making the opposing offense earn it. The only difference is it's the difference between Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff. Patrick Mahomes under pressure shakes Hutch off and then hits Hollywood Brown for 20 yards. Jared Goff under pressure freaks out and throws the ball away. It's what he does every time. It's the MO of Jared Goff. And I know that people wanted to talk about Hall of Fame Goff before this game. Thinking Jared Goff should be in the Hall of Fame just means you don't know ball. He's in the Hall of very good players. Jared Goff is in the same hall that Chris Collinsworth is in. A pretty good player and really a serviceable player. But is he a guy that you can put the team on his back and he's going to carry them even when the offensive line isn't doing well, even when your wide receivers aren't getting great separation, even when things feel like they're all on you? Can you handle it? The fact is, Jared Goff has never been that guy. Jared Goff has never been able to handle that kind of adversity. He's a great quarterback, but he's not a Hall of Fame level quarterback because when things aren't going well, he's pedestrian. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes, he had guys flying all the way. Look, the offensive line did what they could, but the Lions are a good defense. They're going to get back there. Mahomes did what? Bought time, found guys downfield, shook off pressure. I mean, that's what a Hall of Fame quarterback looks like versus Jared Goff, who's a really good quarterback. And that's how Spags was able to get him off kilter. Get in his face. That's how you beat Jared Goff. You get in his face. The Chiefs did it, especially in the second half, and they took control of that game. Huge plays by Steve Spagnuolo. Build the statue. I'll say it every week, except for last week against the Jags. It was the only time I haven't said it. Build Spags a statue. Right outside Arrowhead, man. Best defensive coordinator in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs, and an unbelievably brilliant football mind. Did great against Jared Goff, and on top of that, he did great against another player. We'll tell you who that is coming up here in just a minute. But first, we have to give a lot of props to one man. Chris Jones with a massive bounce back against the Lions, a guy that took a lot of heat during the week after the Jacksonville game, man. Everybody was coming for CJ. Everybody had something to say. Everybody had some call out for him, and he responded with a magnificent performance, living in the Lions' backfield. That's what Chris Jones did tonight. He was setting up residents, putting down stakes, putting down roots, and having his mail delivered in the Lions' backfield. That is how Chris Jones responded to everybody's criticism, to everybody's problematic things they had to say about him, right? Oh, he's this, he's that, he's lazy, he's quitting. Everybody had something negative to say about Chris Jones. Well, the one way you can shut up negativity is to come out and absolutely destroy people. And that's what Chris Jones did against the Lions, even when he got a double team. See, a lot of the years when Chris Jones gets double teamed, he kind of, well, I guess I just got to take up two blocks. No, fight through the damn double team. And that's what he did tonight against the Lions. He fought through the double teams and made plays anyway, and that is the mark of an absolute star in the NFL, which is exactly what Chris Jones always has been and what he always will be, a star. Huge game by Chris Jones tonight. Big bounce back. The second half, the whole D got pressure. But I'll tell you what started in the first half that everybody should be taking note of, and a player for the Kansas City Chiefs that not enough people are talking about, and even now, enough people won't talk about him, Leo Chenal. He was the only guy for the Kansas City Chiefs that could consistently stop the Lions' run. And Spags left him in there. If you noticed, as the game went on, Leo Chenal was no longer an every once in a while player. He was an every down player because he was the one guy the Lions' offensive line couldn't get a hand on him. He just plowed through people, and he was on Jahmyr Gibbs like white on rice. He was all over him. So Leo Chenal with a breakout game against the Lions that not enough people are going to talk about, but when it comes to stopping the run, he was the absolute star of the Lions game, without question. If you watch that game, man, anytime they tried to run up the middle, Leo Chenal was the stalwart. He was the man to step in there, step into the gap, and tattoo Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's a guy that did not get anything against the Chiefs tonight. Jahmyr Gibbs is an amazing running back by all measures. There is no measure of Jahmyr Gibbs that doesn't say he's incredible. Tonight, Jahmyr Gibbs had 17 carries for 65 yards. That is 3.8 yards per carry, and by Jahmyr Gibbs standards, absolutely atrocious. And that comes down to Leo Chenal specifically and that defensive line, giving that offensive line of the Lions a what for, and everybody swarming around the ball and stopping the run as a group effort. That is an absolutely beastly performance by the Chiefs defense, and one that should be a mark of things to come. Number 54, Leo Chenal, he will be getting more playing time in the future. I guarantee it, because he is a run-stuffing machine. Another guy who needs to get his flowers on the defense, we got a couple more, and then we're going to go a little bit more into how the offense worked out for the Lions, and then we'll look forward. What's down the road for the Chiefs? There's a lot. Now it looks a little nicer, right? Yeah, it does. It does. We'll get to that. But another guy that needs his flowers, Noel Williams, was one-on-one with Amon-Ra St. Brown for the vast majority of the night. And he made Amon-Ra, why can't I say his name right now? He made Amon-Ra St. Brown look pedestrian, like a pretty good wide receiver. Coming into this game, through 5 games, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 41 receptions, 407 yards, and 6 touchdowns. A premier wide receiver in the NFL, and a rookie, Noel Williams, was said, hey, you're on an island with Amon-Ra St. Brown, do the best you can. And what did he do? I mean, St. Brown had a pedestrian performance. Yeah, he had some catches. Yeah, he had some yards, but it wasn't like he did anything to take the game over, because Noel Williams stepped up to the plate and went against one of the best in the NFL and came away with a really nice performance. He didn't shut him down. He didn't completely strap him, but for a rookie to go against a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown and have that performance is spectacular. And hopefully, for Noel Williams, that's a confidence-building moment, and it keeps him going with that kind of momentum. And he knows now you can go against a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you can be victorious. That's a huge confidence booster for a young player, and hats off to Steve Spagnuolo for giving him that responsibility and knowing that he can handle it. Huge flowers for Noel Williams tonight. Fantastic. Another guy we need to give some credit to, the lead tackler for the Kansas City Chiefs, a guy who was all over the field, and we were definitely all over him last week. Jamari Conner, great game, man. That was awesome. Jamari Conner's had some rough ones this year, including against Jacksonville, but man, what a great game for him. He came out, he was all over the field, making tackles, pass breakups. I mean, the guy was everywhere. The lead tackler for the Chiefs, and a player that was even making big things happen on special teams. Jamari Conner, congratulations on an amazing game. We were hard on him last week after the Jacksonville game, considering his pass interference penalty that set up a 1st and goal with 30 seconds left that gave Jacksonville the win. I think it was fair to, especially his celebration. He ran to the 50 and celebrated after his pass interference because he didn't realize it was blatant pass interference. So we were a little hard on him last week. But this week, hey, Jamari, awesome game. That's what you want to see. A guy bounce back after a bit of a tough game against the Jags. He bounced back really nicely and had a great game. That's exactly what you want out of your D-back. Not every game's going to be great, guys. It's the NFL. Everybody gets paid a lot. Everybody has good games. Everybody has bad games. But how you respond after a bad game says everything about who you are as a football player. And Jamari Conner, after a rough game against Jacksonville, went out there and was all over the ball against the Detroit Lions. The lead tackler and one of the main reasons that the Chiefs defense was able to hold the Detroit Lions to 17 points. So give the flowers to Jamari Conner, man. Awesome work. That was great. Now, on the Lions side, outside of Sam Laporta, who's just freaking awesome, what a great player Sam Laporta is. Tight end for the Lions. He caught the touchdown, that ridiculous one-handed touchdown on Jamari Conner, but it was perfect defense. Conner was in perfect position body-wise. His hands were in perfect position, but Jared Goff threw a perfect pass. Laporta made a one-handed circus catch, somehow got both feet down while maintaining control and scored a touchdown. That is a career highlight for Sam Laporta, and the fact that he didn't take that game over more than he did is a big credit to Spags and the defense, because that is one heck of a football player the Lions have in Sam Laporta. Wow, what a game by him. And it only makes me in awe of Spags to see how much talent the Detroit Lions have offensively to have 17 points. They came into this game averaging almost 35 points a game. It was like 34.7 points per game. That's what the Lions were scoring. The Chiefs held them to 17. And outside of Sam Laporta and Jamison Williams had a nice game too. But outside of those two guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown held in check. Jahmyr Gibbs held in check. Montgomery held in check. I mean, really, you just look across the board. They did not have a very good day offensively, obviously, with the 17 points. And that has to go to credit to all the players and, of course, Steve Spagnuolo. What a great performance by him. So let's look forward. Let's look forward for the Kansas City Chiefs. They get Rashee Rice back. That's the big thing going forward. They get Rashee Rice back going into Week 7 against the Las Vegas Raiders. And frankly, after the Raiders, it is a tough road, man. They have the Bills. They have D.C. They have tough games until Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys are sub 500 and they look like a garbage team. They lost to Carolina today. The Cowboys are garbage. So the Chiefs play them on Thanksgiving. But of course, it's the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So you really don't know. You really don't know what are they going to be. It's tough to tell. So that's the Cowboys. So that's what's going on looking forward. But I guess the point of this game being a must-win is that going forward, if the Chiefs were 2-4, and then you have the 4-2 Chargers and the 4-2 Broncos, 2 games behind both of them is really hard. Because one might collapse a little bit, but both won't, right? And I know they both played terrible teams, and they played terribly and eked out wins against these terrible teams today, right? You have the Jets and the Broncos, which was just a disgusting game. It was disgusting. Football is sad that game happened. Football's sad that game had to happen in London. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the UK they hate the NFL now because of what the Broncos and the Jets did, but the Broncos won. And then you had Mike McD and the Dolphins give the Chargers everything they could hope for, right? A tough game for the Chargers. It looked like they were going to lose, and somehow they find a way to win, and they beat the lowly disaster that is the Miami Dolphins. 2 crappy teams, 2 close games, but in the end, none of that matters. All that matters is 4-2 and 4-2. So if the Chiefs had dropped to 2-4, this would be a really tough situation, but they didn't. They went to 3-3, only 1 game behind both teams. And they get a chance to play both of those teams. So if the Chiefs had lost, I didn't do much if the Chiefs had lost things before the game. I didn't really go into that. But they would have needed a miracle run, like an 8-game winning streak out of nowhere to get back into the thick of things. Now at 3-3, they don't need a miracle run in order to be right there. They don't have to go on an 8-game winning streak. They have to win, obviously, a lot, but it's not some huge miracle type situation where they have to go on this massive run that nobody could see coming and have this great, amazing. By the way, they still could do that. They could still go on an 8-game winning streak. They could still have a massive run, and then they'll have a shot at the number 1 seed in the AFC. That's the difference now between 2-4 and 3-3, is that if you do have a massive run, you got a shot at the number 1 seed. I don't think I'd bet on the Chiefs to win the number 1 seed. I think I'd still go towards the Bills, but the Bills have shown they're not all the way perfect either. They have their weaknesses. So they might not be a one-loss team. I don't expect them to not lose again for the rest of the season. Just like I don't expect the Chiefs to not lose again for the rest of the season. But only 2 games behind them now, right? The Chiefs are only 2 games behind. 1.5? I don't know. I have to look at it. But the fact is, the Chiefs are in the conversation. At 2-4, you're out of the conversation. At 3-3, with a big win over the Lions at home in prime time, one that ticked off Brian Branch so much that he punched Juju Smith-Schuster in the face. Yeah, that puts you right back in the conversation, especially with Patrick Mahomes playing at the level that he's playing right now. That makes me more confident than anything. That makes me, in a way, I'm more confident now than I was last year at this time for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were 6-0, purely because Patrick Mahomes is playing on a completely different level. He is on a completely different level than he's been for 4 years. Since 2022, we have not seen the Patrick Mahomes that we're seeing right now, a guy who's unstoppable, who's focused, who has all of his athleticism working for him, and his arm seems crisp and accurate. He's on point, and he looks like he could take over a game at any time. That's a different level of play from your quarterback, and that gives me more confidence than even I had last year in the Kansas City Chiefs because they were winning all these close games. We didn't see a dominant Patrick Mahomes last year. Right now, in 2 games this season against the Ravens and against the Lions, we've seen a dominant Patrick Mahomes. So the more we see a dominant Patrick Mahomes, the more confidence I'm going to feel. Even at 3-3, when you see Mahomes come out and play like that multiple weeks, then you know your team always has a shot, and Mahomes has a chance to just take a game over, put the foot on the neck of the opposition, and end it, just like he did against the Detroit Lions. That's Chiefs Chase. I'm Mike Bassano. The Chiefs win 30-17 over the Detroit Lions. They move to 3-3. They have the Las Vegas Raiders coming up next, and we will have the midweek blitz with a bunch of stuff going on in Chiefs Kingdom. We'll hear from players. We'll do all that stuff in the midweek. I've been Mike Bassano. Thank you so much for joining me and having fun with me, man. I have a blast doing this. So thank you for doing it with me. Yeah, I would do it to 3 people, but the more the merrier, right? I would love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me and having a fun time with me. Go Chiefs! And it feels like, I don't want to speak too soon. But it feels like the ship has been righted. It really does. Have a fantastic rest of your night. Hey, have a fantastic week, and I will see you on the Midweek Blitz.